with very high accuracy. There are many more challenges that the institutes have taken, and I'll request the young officers who are collected here and who are connected online to share the problems, safety related problems that you would like the AI mission to work on, so that we can give that as a challenge to the AI Safety Institute, and new technologies can be developed to make sure that AI is safe. Friends, in our entire approach, our bias in technology is more towards innovation. When there is a trade-off between regulation and innovation, we tend to tilt more towards innovation. That's very different from, let's say, Europe and many other parts of the world, where the tilt is more towards regulation, tilt is more towards passing a law, tilt is more towards creating a regulatory body. We believe that technology is something which will innovate, where people will use, and we will evolve into getting the right regulatory structure rather than prescribing it through a law. And that approach has helped us so far. I hope that approach will keep helping us, and especially the people living in far-flung areas of our country, which need the new technological solutions for coming up, for getting to the aspirations that the people have. Thank you very much, NITI Aayog, for organizing this. Thank you for making it part of the AI Impact Summit. Wish you all the best.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the valuable insights shared. देवियर सज्जनों, तकनीक वो ताकत है जो लोगों की जिंदगियां बदलती है, जो जीवन को सरल बनाती है, सहज बनाती है और हर नागरिक तक समान अवसर भी पहुंचाती है. As India marches towards the vision of Viksit Bharat at 2047, it is the economic foresight that will empower technological progress to reach every citizen. It is now my great honor to invite Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, Honorable Finance Minister of India, to kindly address this distinguished gathering.
CEO AVR Subramaniam ji, Debjani Ghosh and McKinsey Zone Khaka, am I right? And Pathak ji, and all the experts who have come here, DMs from over 300 districts, I'm told, are live in connection with us, and also 30 odd DMs who are present here for having done extraordinary work in the ground, and also all AI enthusiasts. I'm really happy to be here today. And a lot has been said. I'm not getting into the benefits or virtues of AI or what AI can do. You had a splendid presentation by the group. I'm just going to highlight some of the features in governance, which in the last few years, thanks to so many stakeholders who have been in touch with us, we have been able to bring into the policy making and also in the budget making. And continuing with that, we hope to also keep in track and keep in step with the AI Impact Summit, which is being scheduled for 2026 February. So I'm more here to tell you all as to what kind of a work, whether it was very well planned or not, actually making a lot of attempts to get the inputs from stakeholders and carrying it forward and so on. But what's more important is when I see the outcome and when I see different groups, expert groups talking about various aspects, I can see a million flowers bloom, a million flowers of innovation, a million flowers of AI related activities bloom all over the country. And therefore, it becomes very appropriate and timely that the NITI Aayog has chosen to release that work that they're doing in creating a repository for all the frontier tech within the NITI Aayog. And in that, I was just checking up with the CEO NITI Aayog about it, who said because we have more than about 300 odd districts, which put together in the sense of aspirational districts and those with aspirational blocks, all together constituting about 300 odd districts, who are in a live connect with the NITI Aayog to highlight what kind of work or adaptation using AI is happening in the district, which is very well. But what it does leave out is the rest 400. And for me, the keenness with which I want every district to be in this repository, real time, data given, data give out kind of a platform is what is it that we need to have, or what is it that is needed to be done to get the rest 400 districts also to come on board and say we are not doing anything at all with AI, or to say yes, we've been doing this for last 3 years, or some wanting to use some of the things that you've put in your repository for from where people can take up and adapt and benefit. It requires, of course, DMs of the Tonk former district collector who attempted to do something, and naturally, because she had put her heart and soul together in getting AI to help with education, she saw some results. So have others who have done, not so much government official, but private entrepreneurs and startups, which have ensured that far-flung areas in Himachal get medicines delivered to those really far-flung villages. And now that they are spreading it to many other northeastern states like Meghalaya, there are always ways in which quickly such technology innovations can be adapted by other districts as well. So I would want NITI Aayog to see how best the rest of the 400 who are not aspirational districts or blocks, and for whatever reason have remained out of all the 760 or 70 districts will have to be in the repository, either to benefit from or to put in their success stories into it. So I would think that is one of the biggest thing. To start with, I already feel the energy in this room where people are revving to do more, wanting to have more assistance. I do not want to crow about what in the last few budgets we've done, but Debjani is probably a first-hand witness who can probably stand up to support me. In the last 4 budgets or 5 budgets, if I remember correct, every time, other than the pre-budget consultation, which happens by routine with industry, with trading bodies, with science and technology people, with the health sector, with agriculture sector, and so on, there was one which was never defined or described, but off the schedule, and that was that one meeting which Debjani and a NASSCOM team would come. And we would ask her to tell us, it's all right, you came in as a group to talk, but tell us that one specific big gap which you find in government, either in the name of funding or in the name of policy support. And she would patiently sit with all of us to tell us. And this I never did alone. I had all my secretaries from the finance ministry to listen to her group. And that is how I would say, whether we did the best thing or not, we brought in a quantum. I distinctly remember her coming and speaking to us. Also talking about the GPUs, about which you were saying so many things today. First thing she came to highlight was we're not doing adequately on GPU. And she was never polite. She would say, you're not doing it. And it used to be one of those hot, really hot interactions where we would go back to say, oh my God, we've not done so much, we've lost a decade. And she would drive home the point very effectively on that. So as a result, the budget had an announcement on quantum mission, the AI centers for education, for agriculture, for health, and urban space spaces, urban cities. Now, when you showed the presentation, I see you have retained agriculture, you've retained health, you've retained education, but you're talking about now space and space technology. Fine, what has happened to my urban spaces? Where is it? Have you dropped it out? It was mentioned on the recommendation of the team which met me. So we need better cities to live, and therefore I'm very insistent that AI should help us give solutions for better city urban areas which exist and for newer urban centers that we may plan. I think we need to have a greater understanding that AI probably is capable of giving us in situ solutions without having to remove people from where they are, but keep them there, but give them the solutions which has been waiting for decades. So in that way, where I listed out on quantum, I listed out on AI centers of excellence for these specific areas. I also will have to say the first ever big ticket announcement in the budget was after a thrashing session again with Debjani on semicons. She said, what are you all up to? You're doing only these. Even today, a week ago or 10 days ago, she called me to say, what you're doing in AI is insufficient. You're just looking at a chat GPT type of user end problem. But what are those cases where we need to have solutions given? So there's been a live, continuous, interactive session with the NASCOM and also others who are engaged in AI-related activities. So the constellation, as an expression used by Ashwini, technology constellation, we are, I think, clear that we do not want to be behind in any one of them. The constellation and the stars which make up the constellation, we are not losing out on any of them. We are not behind, but we cannot be just at par. We need to lead is the Impact Summit's goal, I would say. In each one of the stars which make up for the constellation, we need to have leadership role. And that's where the effort of the ministry is going. And I'm quite happy for what they're doing. And I can assure you, working together with the Reserve Bank of India, the case which was mentioned in your presentation, Kaku, is the Reserve Bank of India is certainly creating sandbox for various user testing application and so on. Sandboxes were used also when we were talking about digital currencies, retail and wholesale retail digital currencies, which the Reserve Bank wanted to try, and it worked well for them to have the sandbox done. So sandbox creation for financial sector AI applications, for financial and insurance sector AI application, yes, the RBI will create. But I'm seeing wherever I go, people and delegations meeting with me to showcase how much they have advanced in this. The sandboxes may be of use for us to see where the regulatory mechanisms can come in with a soft touch approach and not to clamp down on it, so that we are happy that we are regulating, but in the process, unfortunately, we are probably killing the technology itself. We do not want regulation that literally wipe off the technology itself. We want regulations because we want a responsible application. We want what was earlier discussed in the UK meet, the ethical application of AI and so on. But that bridge is probably now crossed because we know how best to go on the ethical regulations and so on. But that has to be kept up because AI is not static. As we heard now on the data sets and so on, AI is a rapidly progressing, real-time, dynamic thing. And therefore, all of us will have to be conscious that we don't sit back on the ethic, because repeatedly I heard the word used several times by our McKinsey friend, that AI can also have its challenges, and that can affect our so-called demographic dividend that we're talking about. And I see the challenge not just in jobs, but also in the way in which these can be used for the not so much of a betterment of the society. So we need to be clear that regulation has to be running this race equally as much as the technology is running it. If the technology is on a sprint, regulation should also be on a sprint. You cannot be thinking that we've done something about regulation and therefore that's over and done with. So the other interesting aspect which I heard was about the crashing of time, so that we should not lose out on the benefit of the demographic dividend, which all of us are talking about. So we need to crash time so that we have all the benefits reaching out to our people. Yes, it is important, because if 80% of people who are going to be dislocated because of, if I heard you right, if 80% of people are going to be dislocated, and if they are going to dislocate, or if they are dislocated, unless we have AI-driven upskilling of these 80%, you're not just going to have them come back to do, at some level, some contribution to the sector. So I would think it's not a gloomy picture of, oh, so many people are going to get thrown out of the job. I would think those are the set which is ready for you to think in terms of AI-driven upskilling programs, which I would want more inputs to come to the government to see how best we can, get into that activity. Because another one of the things which we mentioned in the budget, which I mentioned 3 earlier, thanks to Debjani coming and speaking to us, there was one other which essentially all of us within the government thought about, and we made a big announcement backed up with money. But I'm unfortunately going to have to say that not very many states have used it. And what is that? Old-fashioned, decades-old institution called the ITIs exist in every district of the country. They are Institute for Technology Training. They are for school dropouts or 10th pass or a 12th pass student to come in and have some exposure to technology. When I'm talking about 20, 30, 40 years ago, they are more talking about welding, lathe machine, or power tools to be used, and so on. Never in the age of high technology, and certainly not in the age of AI. So what we did in the budget was to say, look, we will fund every one of these ITIs, which have to be upgraded in a hub and spoke model. Suppose a state has about 100 districts or 30 districts, let's say. Highest is about 80, which is UP. But if there are 30 districts, the state can plan for itself that it will have 10 centers, which are the main centers, and attached to them in a hub and spoke model will be the rest of it. However, for upgrading them, we said we will fund in order that they find enough training materials and also equipments, whether it is a AI-driven equipment or AI adaptable equipment, which you'll need for training young minds in the districts. So we announced that we will fund the updating of ITIs, which will have now to be AI centers of learning, so that school dropouts or 12th pass or even a graduate who comes out of an institution can go to his district ITI and have a training which will really ready him for a market which wants AI skills. Because industry is rapidly changing their production models. And if their models are going to be now AI driven, and which is very good for productivity benefits that we derive. And if you're talking about accelerated growth in our economy, you need productivity gains to be part of what every industry does. And for that, AI adoption by industry is absolutely critical. Many of them are doing it, but there is a mismatch. They are doing the AI adoption, but the market is not giving them AI-ready human resources. As a result, industry today says, oh, all right, you're talking about joblessness, but get us people who are AI-ready. I'm shifting my process of production towards this AI-driven era. And that's good for productivity. But where are these people? So when government announced this ITI upgradation, it was this which was in our mind. And therefore we came up with this saying, get your equipments, training equipments that you need. And also we went to the extent of saying, get your AI trained trainers. If you don't get them, please get them from wherever. We'll be flexible about how to fund them, how to pay them. And Minister Ashwini was with me when we had this India-Singapore ministerial roundtable, ISMR, much before the Prime Minister of Singapore visiting India. In that meeting, held both in Singapore and in India, we had extensively talked about quality training and certification. That's also a problem. Unless we have our training centers adequately equipped with both training required equipments and trainers who are going to be able to do that job, certifying is not going to be really up to the mark. And the person who gets trained, the girl or the boy getting trained in those centers, coming out of them, are going to come out with a certificate which may not find currency among those who want to employ them. So we wanted to have a certification also which has that kind of a hallmark with which they'll be readily acceptable as in the job market. So these were thoughts which I wanted to share with you. There are also questions about how NITI Aayog, and I'm very happy to say this because in 2014, when the old Planning Commission was revamped and NITI Aayog was brought in, more for doing R&D or research for the sake of India's development aspirations. NITI Aayog had taken up very many different roles in preparing developmental disparity related reports, which have come of use for us when we are planning for the next set of reforms or the next set of funding. Today, but I must say with a great sense of appreciation, under both the Vice Chairman, Dr. Suman Berry, and the CEO, BVR Subramaniam, being guided, all of us being guided by the Honorable Prime Minister, AI and AI-related matters have really caught on a lot that the NITI Aayog is actually moving very strongly forward. And I'm with a great sense of appreciation, I want to say this, you need an organization which will bring in all those stakeholders together and be able to bridge the policy initiatives which are required to be done, and therefore be that honeycomb which has all these people coming in and for the government to respond to it. I'm appreciative of the NITI Aayog's attempt to become that repository, not just on gathering data and keeping it, but also becoming the catalyst in getting all these people together and driving policy which can help this very critical area. So I heard the word double-edged sword. I referred to it a bit earlier. I think India is a country which can understand the implication of a good that comes in our way, although a good is never unmitigated. A good is never without riders. A good is never on its own good. It is for us all to use it in such a way that it is for the common good. I don't want to dilute the importance of science and technology by bringing the Puranic kind of a story. I'm not telling a story, but every Asura who had that extraordinary power to do something had to be kept in hold and deliver the good thing that can benefit all humanity. But once that is left without much of a control, that's when it comes to hit at people who have created it. We all know the stories of how various asuras have not kept up the promise, which was a boon given with a little rider. You are given this boon so long as you don't do certain things. But the moment he starts doing a certain thing, which is under the don't do category, it gets out of the way, out of control as well. But I think the AI is something which we, because it is in our DNA, should know also how to keep it well under our reins and serve for the common good. And I'm sure the NITI Aayog will play its role, and all of us are here to work together with you. It was quite a impressive small display, not very many, but very impressive display of innovations already happening in the ground with AI and benefiting the common people. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
I sincerely thank Honorable Finance Minister for her guiding words and also highlighting all those areas that we need to focus on if we want to make AI for all a possibility. and for urging us towards progress with conviction, with AI. And I would like to thank all our distinguished guests on the dais for sparing time and being here